So hi, welcome to Unwind Design. My name is Kimberly Alfaro and I am your teacher for today. So starting off, we are going to be having an 11 by 14 size canvas where I have drawn a circle using a paper plate or just anything you have around the house that could give you a circle on the lower half of your canvas. So this is again 11 by 14. My brushes are gonna be for the size of canvas that I have. So if you have a larger canvas, take your time and maybe use the same kind of brushes, but maybe a level larger, okay? So the brushes we're going to be using are going to be a large background brush, a round point brush. Mine's a little old, that's why it's all open. A little square brush. Both of those are size 8, by the way. And a detail liner brush. Okay, next you're going to have some water on the right. I have 2 containers of water just to make sure that I can wash off my paint better and I won't mess with my colors as much and I don't have to get up and switch my water as often. So I like to have this, but a large cup of water, a mason jar, whatever you have is fine. Also some kind of towel or old napkin or something that you can use to dry off your brushes when you're done using them. Also, make sure that you clean them and don't leave them in the water as long because then you start to corrode them. And then it starts to mess your brushes up. And we don't want to mess up our tools. We want to take care of our tools. We love our tools. Okay, so we're putting our tools on the side. Right, so another thing you're going to be using are going to be a fan or a hair dryer. Okay, whatever you feel better with, just to help the process go a little bit smoother with time. If you are watching this live, you can pause the video at any point and take your time, no pressure. So the colors we're going to be using are going to be blue, green, white, black, brown, red, and yellow. Okay, so these are all the colors we're going to be using today. As a reminder, just because it comes out of the bottle doesn't mean it's ready to use. Look at how sticky that is. So we're going to remember to come in and add a little bit of water. We want it to be soft like sour cream, not like toothpaste. So we're going to add a little bit of water. We also want to be careful that we don't add so much water to the point where our paint starts to go everywhere. Because then, hey, we're running after our paint. We're not controlling our paint. The paint is controlling us, essentially. So starting with our round brush, our large background brush, you are going to draw a circle. If you haven't done that yet, pause the video and go ahead and do that. And then restart the video right now. You guys have already done it at home? Great. So let's move on. We're going to begin first. Actually, let's put this brush away for a second. I haven't dipped it in my water yet. After we do our circle, we're going to leave a little indentation. Let me zoom in for you guys to see a little bit better. And this indentation is where we're going to have the face of Mother Earth. Let me bring it lower. Here we go. And what I want you guys to do is to sort of make this oval shape down there. So this is going to be the chin. And then we're going to come up. And imagine we're going to begin to draw the other side of the face, right? But instead of drawing the other side of the face, we're actually going to dip in. And what are we doing? We're creating the side of her face and the rest is going to have hair. So we're going to take advantage now that we have our pencil and actually do some of the outlining just to make our job a little easier. Okay, I'm zooming out. Look at that. So you can kind of see it. Maybe some of you are like, what? That looks like a bitten off strawberry or something. Yeah, don't worry. We got this. So out of the sides, we are going to make 2 lines, one coming sideways and one going down. Okay. So this arm is going to be coming around, and that's what we're drawing. We're drawing an arm here. So we're going to do our arm coming all around. Just like this line, following that line. And we're going to come right to the middle. And we're just going to kind of make a little arrow like that. We're going to point it right at the tip. right there. Okay. Then we're going to come in with our pencil again, and we're going to start on our other side. And we're going to bring that all the way around. Except when we start to get close to this point, we're right here right now, okay? We're going to bring it upwards, and we're going to kind of coat this into the other one, kind of Pac-Man it, you know, like we're going to Pac-Man it together. Here, we're going to go down. And we're going to have her hugging the earth. How pretty is that? I love it. Right? So then, right here on the side, we're going to kind of curve how big her hair is going to be. So you guys can go outside of the hair, outside of the head here. Let me zoom in. And you're going to decide, oh, you know what? I want her head to be a little bit big like that because she has a lot of hair. Her hair's super flowy. We're going to come in on the other side, and we're going to begin to just drape her hair. And we're doing these little lines down here. And we're going to just put it up to there, underneath. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. And come down like that. Okay, let me zoom out. There we go. Hopefully you guys can see that a little better. Great. So now we are going to be moving on with our background brush. We're going to be picking up our white. Remember, we want it nice and soft, not too soft to the point where we can't control it. So we're going to add a little bit of water to our white, starting to mix it into the color. Okay, so again, picking up a little bit of water, and I'm mixing it in there. Okay, making it into like a little creamy consistency. There we go. Look at it, nice and soft. Let me zoom into that. Okay, nice and soft. Okay, we don't want to load our brush too much with paint. Next, we're going to come in and pick up our blue and mix it down there in our white section. Why? It's easier to add white to get it to the lightest point that we want it. It's going to be harder to be moving white all the way into the blue because the blue is so thick. It's better if we just grab a little bit and mix more white into it. So we're going to start off with our bottom half of our painting. We're coming in with this baby blue, and we're painting around the arms and around the hair. And we're adding the baby blue in the bottom section. See, we're using the corner of our brush to drag it against the outline to make sure that we get straight lines. And that's why it's so important that you have your paint nice and soft, because if it's too sticky, you're going to have a hard time moving your brush across. Okay, so we want it to be nice and soft. Next, we're going to come from this line, and we're going to drag our brush lightly, making these lines into the hair. Okay, we want it a little bit darker if it starts to get a little too light because we keep picking up a little bit too much white. Again, you don't want to use all of your white. You just want to use a section just in case if I want to use white later. Okay, so we're going to come in, maybe make it just a little bit darker. And we're continuing to push the back of our brush down too, because our paint gets pushed up all the way to the top of our brush. So we want to use all of that paint. And we're starting with that blue. And as we go farther to the ends, we start to get a little bit darker. Okay, so we start to add a deeper blue. Okay, make sure that you have enough water again. I can't stress that enough. You don't want your paint to be hard to manage. Okay, here we go. See, and now that we've started the dark color underneath, then we start to bring it upwards so that it blends in with the rest of our sky, and we get this really pretty gradient of colors. Okay, same thing on the other side. A little bit darker at the end, coming with a little bit more water, picking up a little bit more white, and I'm adding that on there. I'm blending it back and forth. See? And now, because this is still nice and damp, when I go in there with my colors, I'm going to have them blend a lot better. Okay, so then I could even grab more blue and make it darker wherever I feel like I want it to be. Remember, it is a little bit lighter closer to the top. So I'm going to grab a little bit more white and brighten it. And that's why it's so important to play with damp colors again, because it gets a better, you get better blending when you play with your colors when they're both just a little wet. Not really wet, because then it becomes one solid color. It's like, it's a little trick to get that texture just the way you want it. To that like middle point. All right. So now we're going to do the same thing above her head, except for this, we're going to go a little darker. So we're actually starting off first with like a light baby blue halo around her body, right? So we're coming with that light blue around her. And again, that's why you want to have a good enough water in there so that it doesn't run out like right here and you don't leave any white spots behind. So I'm going to come back with a little bit more white, and I'm going to run it one more time. Ooh, so that has this really pretty light halo around her, like I said before. It's like a glow. How pretty this is. Oh, I love it. All right. But then we're going to start to pick up maybe a little bit of red. What? Yeah, let's get a little funky here. So right here above her head, we're going to mix in a little bit of that red. See what that starts to look like. We're just going to spread that around her slowly. Okay, and then as you start to mix it in a little bit, you like release your pressure. So that's where we're going to leave our red. We're not going to add more than that. If you want to, you can spread it around, but I think that looks good enough. So I'm coming back, washing off my large brush, and I'm going to be playing with my dark blue now. So I'm grabbing this dark blue and I'm adding water to it because remember, I want it nice and soft. I want to be able to move it around, but I don't want it to drip and go everywhere and go wild either. So nice and soft, mixing that paint. And then I'm coming in here and we're painting the sky blue. Hopefully our red is still wet, because when we paint it with that blue, we start to get this really pretty purple around her. Look at how pretty that looks. Love it. So we're coming back with that blue. We're picking up a little bit of white. Okay. And we're starting to create this like wave around her. Remember not to lose the lighter area. So if it gets too dark here, come back and pick up some white and just go over it so that it looks baby blue again. See? It's what's kind of coating her. So you can even pick up some of it, just kind of blend it into the background. Come back, play with your blues, all right? Once you guys have finished this, we're going to move on to painting our ocean the same color. So what we're going to do with our ocean is we're going to be painting the exterior just a little bit darker. Okay, I'm adding a little bit of water to that. Hold on. So we are starting in with our blue, and we're going to be painting in around this circle. So what you want to do is watch the corner of your brush and make sure that you are just dragging it along that corner, nice and slow. You want to bring your brush right at the edge. There you go. And then that way you can try to get that circle as round as you can. There we go. So we're going to do this all around. And what we're going to do is we're going to paint the bottom half a little bit darker. Just a little bit on the side as well. But as we go towards the center, we're going to start to get lighter. So we're going to get a little bit of white. And we're going to start to kind of paint that globe in a circle. So we're going to start to kind of curve it a little bit. See that? And it helps out too if we have maybe a little bit of green added to that white, so that when we add it, it can become almost like a turquoise. You see that? Starts to get a little bit greener in there. Okay. So we're coming in the middle and we're adding in that light blue. Okay, so whatever you have to do, but just keep it nice and light in the middle with your white. That's what we're trying to keep there, that white. Again, if you add just a tad bit of green into that white mixture, it'll turn it almost into an aqua green. And that's where we can start applying this around this way. So I'm going to keep playing with adding the light color to my earth. So what we are going to be doing next is allowing this to dry a little bit. But while it's drying, we're going to come in with our round tip. And we're going to be playing with our colors, green and yellow. So we're going to be grabbing a little bit of green. And we're going to start to form out our little sections of earth here. So we're going to start off up here. And we're just going to be adding a little bit of this dark green. And we're kind of forming Canada over here, and then kind of the US down here. Okay, so it's just something that looks like that. So we have this little longer section. We have kind of like the US kind of forming right there. Okay, and we're using, again, we're just kind of dabbing our green here, allowing it to get mixed in with our blue in the back. And just to make this stand out a little bit more, we're going to be grabbing our yellow. Okay, and we're going to mix this yellow with a little bit of our green. Hopefully it'll be a little bit lighter. There we go. We got the color that we're looking for. And we're going to add a little bit of that yellow right in the middle here. See, we're starting to add some highlight there. And then on the other side, going back and forth with your light green to add some highlight. As we're allowing that to continue, we're going to come in and build some of our dark blue up. So we're starting to add a little bit dark blue up here, just creating a little bit more of a base in the bottom section here. Okay, and we're just going to kind of make the edges stand out a little bit all around. And then right under her face, we're going to be doing the same. We're going to even add a drop of black into that blue, just a little bit of black to make it a little bit darker. And we're going to be going right under her face. I accidentally painted over it a little bit, but we're going to be going right under her face. And we're going to be creating sort of like a shadow here. Okay, we're going to be pulling this towards the left. Okay, to the bottom left or to the side left. And we're just going to kind of be brushing it on this side there. But we want it to be a little bit thicker towards the top there. So again, a little drop of black into that blue just so that it pops a little bit more. Get that. It may look like it's black, but it's not. It's a navy blue. You're going to come in from the edges and slowly, as you outline these, pull out a little bit of that blue. There we go. Same here. We're going to come in with our little bit of our darker blue, go right towards the bottom with it. So a little bit of, again, a drop of black in your blue. And while this dries, we are going to be moving on to our Mother Earth's face right here and her skin tone. So the colors we're going to be using for her skin tone, and I'm actually going to be using my square brush for this. Okay, so I'm going to be using my square brush, and we're going to be making a skin tone, a lighter skin tone. Okay, maybe a little bit more tan. So first I'm going to make the light part, which is a little bit of, I know, orange, right? Very light orange. To this orange, we're going to add a little bit of white. Sorry about that, I have allergies. Right, so we're making that very light color. If it's too red, add a little bit more yellow. If it's too yellow and too like orangey, go in and add a little bit more white. Okay, we're trying to make it kind of like a peach color. There we go. So now we have that basic skin tone. Let me zoom in. And to that basic skin tone, we can add maybe a little bit of brown to it just to make her a little bit tanner. And to that, you add a little bit of brown. And you add just a little bit of red. Kind of evens it out a little bit, right? So there we go. Cool. And you know what? It's looking a little too brown. So I'm going to add a drop of yellow to add some highlight to the color. We're going to be grabbing this color. Hopefully it's a little bit on the darker side. And we're going to be starting to draw the lower part of her left side of her face. Okay, so there you go. It's a little bit darker there. And you're going to be brushing some of that up. You know what? It looks like it might need a little bit more orange in there, believe it or not. So I'm mixing a little bit of my red and yellow over here, made some light orange. Let me see what that looks like. Maybe even more red. She might need more red as a shadow. Rarely do you see the use of black and brown to use a shadow when you're painting somebody realistically. Usually you'll use like a red or like a blue for shadows. Okay, perfect. So here we go. So I'm adding a little bit of that orange on the bottom side of the cheek here. And then I'm kind of blending it. By not pressing that hard, I'm pushing it into the lighter part of the skin there. And if you notice, my color is still too dark. So what I'm going to do is directly on my palette, I'm going to add my white and a little bit of yellow. Okay, so I'm going to lighten it right here. Instead of lightening it here, I'm adding just a little bit more white. There we go. And maybe a little bit more yellow if it doesn't have a lot of color to it. There you go, nice and rich. So using that same color that we mixed down here, we don't even have to make a mixture on our palette. We can just mix it on our canvas by pulling some of that color up. And now it looks like she's got multiple levels there. Come back with the orange. We add some brown to that, make it a little rougher and rustic. So again, I'm coming over here now with my lighter color just to brighten it up a little bit more on this section. Watch how much water you add to your brush too. You don't want it to be too light. You don't want to wash off your paint. So now I'm going to be doing the same thing here. So the darker shadowy part is going to be around the inside of the arm, and then the lighter section is going to be towards the outside. So on the lower parts of the arm, around the hair, by the hair section, it's going to be yellow with white. We're going to start to combine it to lighten it up, and it's going to be more of a shadow towards the earth. So again, more shadow towards the earth. It's going to be lighter towards the outside of the arms. And we're going to do the same thing that we did on our right hand towards our left hand. We're going to add a little bit of brown and red to our tan color to work in a thumb closer to the planet. And we're going to use it to shadow the fingers that are going over the other hand. We are going to bring that across all the way around towards the face, closest to the earth. Remember, the outside is the highlighted section. So highlight the upper part with a little bit more yellow and white combined with the skin tone. Now that we've worked on our highlights, we are going to be working on emphasizing our shadows by adding a little bit of brown, a little bit of red, and adding that to the overlapping sections and the bottom section of the arm that's hugging the planet itself. Over our earth here. So we're going to need to wash our brush. We're going to be using our large background brush. Oh, I saw some paint in there. So we're going to be using that brush. We're going to be getting a little bit of that white, and we're going to want to wet it. Okay, so we're going to want to make sure that it's nice and smooth. So pick up a little bit more water. We want it to be a little clear. Let me see what that looks like. Okay, So we kind of want it to look like that, a little see-through. Let me zoom in. Okay. You see how my paint looks super runny? Look how it's going from side to side there. It's like dripping almost by itself. Okay, look at that. Super runny. Okay, so what we're wanting to do is we're wanting to get it super runny like that, almost see-through. Look at what it looks like against my finger. It just dries off. Okay, then we're going to dry our brush. Okay, make sure that that paint is nice and soft. We're going to dry our brush. And we're going to grab that white wet paint. And we're going to start, let me move it a little bit lower, in this corner of our earth. And we're going to start kind of drawing some clouds curving towards this side up here. So we're kind of doing a upside down rainbow shape all the way around. So we're doing it again. This is what it looks like with a little bit more water. And I see nice and thick. Okay, we want to leave kind of like, make it look like there's clouds going back and forth there. Right here, we're going to start to make, it becomes like an almond shape right there in the middle. And that's going to make it look or give it the effect as if it's actually circular. So it's more three-dimensional. See, so this is coming this way. This one is more of an almond. There we go. And now we're going the opposite direction towards the top. Okay, so we are grabbing our white. So again, we're beginning to thicken up our clouds slightly. We're adding a little bit more clouds, maybe off to the ocean here, and maybe covering the land slightly, okay? We don't want to cover the earth too much here. Next, we want to kind of maybe add a little bit more this way. Kind of have clouds flowing all around here. It's very light color, not too dark. Again, this is how you paint with glazes, using the see-through color a little bit at a time, building up where you want it to be the darkest by adding a little bit more paint at a time just to get it darker. Instead of going right away with your really dark color, you start light and build your way up. So next to that white mixture that we made, we're going to be grabbing a drop of yellow and we're going to be mixing that into our white. And we're going to slightly just add a little bit of that yellow coming out from the edges. You make it look like the sun is kind of reflecting off of the planet a little bit. So we're just kind of making little lines off the corner, down here as well, maybe off on the opposite end. So right here we have it north and south, we have it blue. And then the east and the west, we have it yellow with some white. There we go. So we have a little bit of our highlighted color there. Right? And then we're going to grab our blue. So we're going back again with originally, like we did, our dark blue. So we're going to go back again with our dark blue. Okay. And we're going to add a little bit of black to that dark blue to make the really navy blue again. So we're grabbing that dark blue. We're coming around. Here we go. And now we're using that dark blue again to make that earth stand out slightly. Let me zoom out. Cool. So then we're starting to do that thing again where we start to use that blue and we start to scrape it inwards underneath her chin. And we start to bring it around like we did before. Okay, I'm going to switch brushes from this large one to the lighter, to the smaller square one again. You know what? I'm going to grab my round tip one instead. So we're grabbing my round tip, picking up some of that dark blue again, making sure that my brush is nice and dry if my paint is a little too wet. And then I'm starting to add more curvature to those edges slightly. I'm starting to build up the darkness in the bottom. Okay, if you want to add maybe a little bit of white, just so it looks like maybe it's more icy towards the bottom, maybe a little bit of icy towards the top right there. Getting that mixed in there with the blue a little bit. Same thing over here. I'm going to be grabbing a little bit of that dark blue and I'm curving it so that it adds to the feel of the motion there. So I'm curving it kind of slanted and around. Just like this blue right here is going up, kind of creating that motion there. That round motion. Right, so we're coming with some more of that blue. Bringing it out. Getting it a little bit darker. You want to come in and maybe add a quick wash of it over the earth itself. So it kind of created this foggy earth right here. Nice and soft. Okay, so moving on from that color, we are now going to be grabbing brown with black. So we're going to be using some brown and we're going to mix a little bit of black with it. So we're working on making a dark chocolate brown. Okay, here we go. So you can make her hair whatever you want. If you want to use red with a little bit of black, you could do that. If you want to give her purple hair, it really is your imagination. So feel free to go along and make it your own. Okay, so I'm grabbing a little bit of that dark brown and we are going to start to color the hair. And that includes the hair on the side of her face. We're going to start to pick up that dark brown and we're starting to fill in the sections around her side here. As we come in to her side here, we're going to start to create little hairs, little loose ones kind of just going into her arm. If you want to give her curly hair, you can even do that. Give her kind of waves, make her hair a little bit curlier. It doesn't have to be straight, it can be curly hair. Okay, I'm going to make her hair just slightly curly. And then we're going around. And we're just going to continue going down the sides of the hair there. Again, if you want to make it a little bit curly, you can make it a little bit curly as well. It doesn't have to be totally straight. And you're going to go back and forth with that dark brown and maybe add a little bit of black to maybe add some variety in the hair. So I'm coming in with some black over here, just kind of adding some more to the hair there. Finishing my dark brown. And part of this hair is actually coming down on the earth here. And then we have some of her hair just dripping onto the side of the planet there, and to the sides of her arm. Coming back with some more black into my brown. And you can come in again with that black over your brown. If your brown is a little bit lighter, with your black you can start to add maybe some lines for your hair if your hair is straight, Or if your hair is curly, you can go and add those curly lines with that black for the hair. Cool. So once we are done with that, we're going to be grabbing our detail brush, and we're going to be adding some more details on the hair with our detail brush. So we're using our little one, and we're going to be picking up a little bit of yellow into our brown, and we're going to get a little bit of white into our brown too. So we're getting a slightly yellow color. Okay. And with this lighter brown, if you're going to have straight hair, do lines with straight hair. If you're going to have curly hair, go over it and do lines with your curly hair. And that includes going over the arm slightly too. So now that you have your smaller brush, you can add all the smaller hairs that are going into the arm. Your light brown is what's giving you those highlights on your hair. So again, a little bit of white, a little bit more yellow just to make your brown light. And then that's what we're going to use right here as well. So I am going to be adding a little bit of white and yellow to create some highlights as well. So that highlight is going to be a little bit more spread out. I'm going to be choosing specific sections to bring the curls down. I'm going to be dragging them down the side of the head, maybe going in between the previous curls so that it doesn't look as if I'm outlining the same ones. We want it to look a little bit more full. So you can kind of interweave these in between the ones that you already have there as well. Or you could use a little bit of that lighter white and yellow and choose specifics like where it curls, that's where you add your highlight. You don't have to highlight the whole thing. You can just pick certain sections to bring out, and you can create some looser curls in the background as well, since your yellow and white will stand out a lot. All right, so moving on from that, once you guys are finished, we're going to be doing one of my favorite parts, which is same thing, grabbing our detail brush. We're going to be grabbing some glops or some drops of white, and we're going to be laying our stars. So you can make some that are a little bit bigger. You can make little dots. You can make a whole bunch of different varieties. You can make a dot and just scratch it to make a falling star. Or you can go in and make sparkly dots. Okay, so my sparkly dots, they would be sparkly stars. And let me show you what that would look like. So it would start with a dot, then you would make a cross, and then in the middle, you'd make a little X. See? And then you have yourself a sparkly star. You could do a sparkly star just coming out of the edges. You don't have to do it specifically right in the middle, just like here. Here's another one. So you can add your sparkly stars wherever you want, or you can just go in and add your dots all around. All right. Once you are done with your stars, go over to the lower right hand side, pick a lighter color, maybe a white, and write in your signature. After this, you're done. Thank you so much for joining my classes. See you next time.